Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today I'm excited to bring you some Assassin's Creed Unity gameplay. Now this game is going to come out very soon on the 11th, November 11th, which is Tuesday, and we have some early access footage. The game is set in the late 1700s Paris during the French Revolution, and that whole theme and ambiance has really resonated throughout the social aspect of the game. All the crowds and the people in the world seem very much divided on one political side or another. And walking through the very distinct districts of Paris, you will notice the difference between, say, the poorer districts and the wealthier districts, and just the nature of how people are behaving and the conversations going on the sidelines. The game does a great job of bringing the world to life, and part of that is the ability to render and draw crowds of up to 5,000 people, which is absolutely insane and something that I don't think has been done in any game to date. And this is of course a very important part of bringing the game to life, not just because rendering out massive markets and stuff like that is a cool aspect to the game, but because there was lots of rioting and big revolts and stuff like that going on. So needing to be able to render out that many people at once is really important to making Paris seem alive in the late 1700s. The fighting should feel familiar to anyone who has played a previous Assassin's Creed game or some of the other games out there that use sort of a chain link style fighting system. You can build up combos the more you hit people and use different weapons for different kinds of special moves. Using your pistol and other defensive items are going to be critical to surviving fights later in the game once you go up against harder foes. Now when it comes to choosing your fighting style, you have a lot of weapons to pick from, including a huge variety of pistols. The player customization in Assassin's Creed is very in-depth. You have a plethora of weapons to pick from, and those weapons will actually determine your fighting style. So you can play around with different melee weapons and different pistols and decide which ones cater to your personal style the best. The aesthetic customization is extremely varied and allows you to pick from a huge variety of head pieces, chest pieces, leg pieces, arm pieces, even belts, and you can customize the color. Should you be feeling nostalgic, you can always set up your assassin to look very similar to some of the previous Assassin's Creed games. One of the coolest features of the new Assassin's Creed game is the ability to team up with 2 to 4 players via a co-op system and go after harder to hit targets. Communication and strategy adds a whole nother element to the game and makes missions feel so much more dynamic and interesting, especially when they're more difficult and you actually have to coordinate attacks with your friend in order to achieve them. This can be really fun, and I'm looking forward to actually trying out some of the 4-player missions. Using one player as bait and the other one as the assassin is actually a really fun tactic to try and switch off and take turns being the bait or the assassin, and you also have the ability to revive fallen teammates, although that can be pretty difficult, especially if they die in the middle of, say, 5 guards. It can be a very tense situation because you have a limited amount of time before you can get the revive off. Completing harder missions with teammates is certainly a much more rewarding experience than playing it solo, and I think this is one of the coolest additions to the Assassin's Creed franchise. Graphically, the game looks amazing, but even more, the city itself is so massive in scale, it kind of blows your mind because you think a lot of it's a backdrop when you climb up to the top of a tall tower, look around, get your bearings, but then you actually go, open your map, start walking around and exploring the city, and you realize there really isn't much of a limit on where you can go. It feels like the entire city of Paris has actually been modeled for you to explore. And if it weren't for the map, it would be incredibly easy to get lost in this city because there are literally hundreds of back alleys and different roads and intersections and places to go. The accuracy and research of all the architecture and the city layout is really impressive, and it makes you wonder just how the developers knew so much about the city layout for this time period. One of the highlights, in my opinion, is the ability to scale the Notre Dame Cathedral, which architecturally is just beautiful, and it's really cool to be able to climb all over it as a character and obviously not have to worry about ruining the real one, but you can really notice every little nook and cranny, every little detail, and once you get up to the top, it is just an absolute stunning view. And needless to say, the Assassin's Creed notable parkour system is in and looking better than ever, with extremely fluid animations that are convincing the whole way through. Now, some of you guys might remember a video I posted several months back where I was talking about some of my most anticipated games of this year, and Assassin's Creed Unity made the list just because the scope, the visuals, and the crowd aspect just looks so appealing. And awesomely enough, we were invited by Ubisoft to come take a look at the game, and this is now a sponsored video, which means I can't actually post any of the storyline missions, but I can tell you that some of the storyline missions are certainly going to involve some of the most spectacular visuals in terms of crowds and just epic storyline moments. And we are almost atop this cathedral, and fortunately enough, Arnaud never really seems to run out of breath, which is nice because otherwise I think it would take the better part of an hour to actually get up here. Now, if you're a historian or even an architect who appreciates the architecture of this time period, I have a feeling you could easily play this game without even doing any of the missions just because of the detail and the ambiance of everything. And once we finally get up here and are able to look around Paris, it is just mind-blowing. It's breathtaking. It's really unbelievable what the scope and scale of this game can do to just make you feel like you really are in this city. It feels alive. It feels real in many ways. Now, I have to admit it has been a little while since I've played an Assassin's Creed game, but just from what I've seen so far, I can say pretty assuredly that this is the most ambitious Assassin's Creed game so far, and the most lifelike. Now, even if the historical accuracy of this game isn't necessarily an appealing aspect to you, if you don't really care that much about this time period, you still have a nice, good, solid Assassin's Creed combat system. You can chain together combos, you can pick different kinds of weapons that give you different types of attacks that will really cater to what you prefer as your own personal playstyle. You can be more aggressive, you can be more of a brawler, or you can kind of sit up on the rooftops, maybe try and snipe people with your rifle from further away and take off people one at a time. I feel confident in saying that if you are a fan of previous Assassin's Creed games, then this game is certainly going to appeal to you. And if you've never played an Assassin's Creed game before, this might actually be the time to start because it is one of the most beautiful and one of the largest in scope. Anyways, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for this sneak peek at the Assassin's Creed Unity game. It's coming out on Tuesday. Check it out. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.